Hello, everyone. Welcome to Decoding Downtowns, brought to you by Vistity. In this podcast, we dive deep with leaders from business improvement districts across the nation, revealing the strategies that are shaping the future of urban development and economic growth. Thanks for joining us. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm Jamie Schwartzman, your host. And today on Decoding Downtowns, we are going to a district outside of Charlotte, North Carolina. University City Partners. We're meeting with Keith Stanley. He's the president and CEO. Keith, how are you today?
Jamie, I can't complain. It is a wonderful day here in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Great. Well, welcome to the podcast. Tell us a little bit about University City and kind of what's going on there.
University City is a unique slice of the city of Charlotte. It's very diverse and in many aspects, especially for those of us in this field. It's really new. I mean, it didn't start really taking off until the early mid '80s, and so even though that's pretty old for the city of Charlotte, but for most of my friends throughout the country, it's relatively a new as far as new growth part of Charlotte.
I see. Are you close to the downtown area? Give us a sense of where you are.
Yeah, we are North Charlotte, Northeast Charlotte to be exact, and we're probably about 20 minutes outside of Uptown, as they call it. For those of us who didn't grow up as natives in Charlotte, their downtown are called Uptown. So we're about 20 minutes out from Uptown, which is the middle of Charlotte, out here in this northeast part of Charlotte.
Cool. Hey, so tell me a little bit about the University City Partners. How you guys structured? How you guys financed?
University Partners itself, I tell people all the time, we're the mall managers for University City. So we're concerned about anything and everything that relates to University City, including its brand, its vacancies, economic development. We're structured. We have 10 square miles within the MSD, Municipal Service District. That's similar to a business improvement district or a special tax district. We have about 10 square miles representing about 4,700 businesses, about 1,200 commercial parcels. 100,000 people work in University City, about 185,000 live in University City. So our tagline is a city within a city. So, and the cool thing, our namesake, is that we have UNC Charlotte with about 30,000 students in University City. Is one of our 9 regions in the MSD. And we also have University Research Park, which is a 2,200 acre office park in here at University City. So we manage that park for fun with a management fee. So there's a lot of good things I think about University City that makes us pretty unique and special.
Wow, you have a big district, and
Yes.
a lot of people there, a lot of geography.
Yes.
And how are you guys financed? Is it based on parcel tax?
Yeah, so there's a special assessment or assessment that goes in addition to tax assessment. There's a special MSD assessment that each business owner pays, or each property owner, commercial property owner pays.
I see. So is it just to be clear, Keith, is it businesses or is it properties?
Oh, well, yes, that's a good question, Jamie. So it's actually property owners. So if you own a parcel of property that is used for commercial use, including multi-units, because that's some districts or other districts don't necessarily do that same thing. But if you own a commercial parcel, you pay into the MSD. Most, if not all, the way the method is that most property owners will then take that cost and put it, and then their businesses pay a portion of that. So indirectly, our businesses pay to be in the MSD.
I see. Got it. And give us a sense of kind of budget scale and district.
We grow about 6 to 8% each year. We're probably right now, I think the new year coming up, we'll probably be at 1.5 million in revenues. It's pretty consistent. It's a reflection of the growth and the development of the area for like most business improvement districts. So I tell people we don't make widgets or gadgets. What we do is make sure that we have the environment for our businesses to flourish. And we actually have statistical data to show that when you're in the MSD, the growth rate is actually a little bit higher than outside of the MSD. We focus on all those things that help our businesses grow.
Got it. And so, president and CEO, what's that job like?
Well, I would say, for me at least, my perspective, my role, I make sure I'm just have my eyes on everything. I
Hmm.
tell the team there's no surprises. And so we want to know what's going on in our community through economic development. We want to know what's going on through our community with academics, both the university and our high schools and our middle schools. Why would an MSD be concerned about what's happening within local high schools? Because we know when we're trying to recruit a business, we're trying to recruit a Fortune 1000 company, a Fortune 500 company. That's one of the things they look at. How are the schools in your area? And so we want to make sure that we can sell potential businesses and clients on University City about its quality of life, about its schools, about the low crime rates, and what that means to a business that's trying to flourish. And so that's what we do here.
So, Keith, how did you get into this line of work? Why do you do this?
Yeah. Quick story back at home for me, which is Wisconsin. I was fascinated by the fact of trying to understand how we can make an impact using land when it came to improving our communities. And I was just been fascinated by that. How does land impact the quality of life? How does the use of land impact how people engage the land? And so I took a class at Marquette University after attending college and got a certificate in commercial development, economic development, through a great professor, Dr. Mark Epley, and a program called ACRE, and just learned about development, learn about how to read statements and things of that nature when I'm looking at developing in the area. And that just led to me, of course, the Main Street program that many people may be familiar with, did that for many years, and then got involved with really the Business Improvement District, the BID model, which has been great for me.
I see. And how long have you been in University City?
University City, I'm a newbie, but that doesn't mean much here in Charlotte. I've been at it for about 18 months. Charlotte, about 113 people come every day, and so it's a very dynamic city.
Well, let's talk a little bit about economic development and some of the programs and the role that your organization plays in supporting economic development there.
So we have 4 pillars, Jamie, that we focus on. First is arts and culture, and I can get into the reasons why, but long story short for your listeners and for those who are tuning in with us today, art and culture is important because we need to get people out the car. And you activate streets and communities with arts and culture. You get people out there enjoying themselves, and that's how they spend money. But we also want to concern about connectivity and mobility. How are we connecting people have heard of this before, the last mile, the first mile. What does that mean? We have a lovely Blue Line extension, but how do we get people from their homes to the bus stations? How do we get people from their offices to the retail centers? And so we have the major infrastructure, but now we're focusing on the sidewalks and all the last and first mile options. But also we have economic development. And what I mean by economic development, who is building, what are they building, and how will it impact our community? And so that's across the board, from franchises and fast food restaurants to housing. What does that look like for our community? And then lastly, marketing and promotions. We are the stewards of the University City brand. Now, don't get me wrong, UNC Charlotte has their own brand. They have their own football. They have their own team. They have their own stadium. But we focus on the community itself, the common good, the gray area between people's front door and then where they go shop, people's front door and where they go to, if they're going to a place of faith on Sunday or Saturday or Monday morning. We want to make sure that we have an understanding of what our communities look like. And so we do a lot of marketing and promotions around letting people know that our assets and amenities. We have this Carolina's only IKEA, and the list goes on all the great things we have in University City.
What are some of the challenges that are unique to your district right now?
One is very interesting, coming from a mature market like Milwaukee, is the growth. We're losing population in the city of Milwaukee, and to come to Charlotte, North Carolina, where we're gaining, as I mentioned, they say it's 113 people a day coming to this region, mostly coming to Charlotte. So how do you manage that growth? When do you get a new police station? When do you advocate for more roads and streets? How does that work? And it's important because I tell people, I went on a trip with UNC Charlotte. We went to go look at the community engagement efforts in Pittsburgh with Pitt. Pittsburgh, University of Pittsburgh. And I was there and I saw the bridges, and it's a city of bridges, Jamie, they say in Pittsburgh. It's 446 bridges that they have. And I tell people all the time, once you build the bridge, it's really hard to unbuild it. So, when I think about Charlotte, it's like we're going to have to build some things that people may not want to pay for, and then we can't unbuild it. We can't unring the bell. We can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. Once you build this infrastructure, it is there to stay, and we need to know what that looks like. So I think that's one of the unique challenges, I think, for me in the city of Charlotte and working in University City. What does growth look like, and how do we manage to make sure it's smart growth, and we're not just building just for this generation? So.
Hey, let's talk a little bit about data and data you're tracking. Do you guys do economic development reporting? Do you put out a state of the district report? Tell us a little bit about that.
So we are looking more into this. This is a question that I'm still working on now. We have decided to go with a couple of programs that are important to us to begin to track some of the data points, but we're also asking questions of our board and asking questions of the developers and people who are closely connected to the work we're doing on what's important to track. Of course, we're going to track the basics. We're going to track the population growth. We're going to track how people are engaging University City as far as what businesses they're going to. But also a couple of things that we've been interested in that we're looking at tracking now is understanding how long are people staying here at University City. We got this beautiful lake that's right behind you, a 15-acre lake. I use lake loosely, though, because 15 acres isn't a lot coming from the state of Wisconsin when you got Lake Michigan. But it's still an asset that we use. How long are people staying around the lake? What's their ticket price for when they're going inside a business, what they're spending when they come to University City? We want to get into some of those nuances of data to understand what is happening within our community. Is there retail leakage? That's important. We want to know that maybe there's a store or someplace that we should think about bringing to the community. So those are some of the things we're tracking, but we're also tracking, I think I said the big one for us was residential growth, number of residential units, both rental, home ownership. We're tracking staffing. That's a big issue with many of our businesses now, what staffing looks like, how much are people being paid, that type of deal. That's important to us because, once again, we're advocating on behalf of those businesses for growth. So just a few examples.
What's going on in development there right now? Are you seeing people investing? Is there construction?
Construction all the time here in Charlotte and specifically University City. We represent about 20% of all residential development in the county.
Wow.
So we're adding about 2,000 plus, I was going to say families, but it actually is individuals a year to University City. We probably have more multifamily development happening right now than pretty much anywhere else in Charlotte. Now, this is a response not only to the people coming here, but also we have this growing UNC Charlotte. UNC Charlotte will become a tier 1, R1, I think is the status, research facility next year. So they're growing by leaps and bounds. And so we're trying to keep up with that. We also have a couple of large businesses. One announcement made this year was Vanguard, the financial behemoth, I should say, headquartered in Philadelphia. They're actually going to have a presence in University Research Park. And so we're working with that now. So I think for us, there's a lot of development, but we want to make sure it's right development. Make sure that, what I mean by right, does it fit the community for the long haul? Will it negatively impact us in a certain way? And so that's where I think we're looking. But yes, a lot of growth, Jamie.
So how about the use of, dashboards, data visualization, any of that kind of stuff? Do you see that playing a role for you guys in the future?
Yes. Data is key. Data is key, and we have to figure out how to grab our hands around it. I think the real concern for us right now is how do we cover the costs? We looked at some major groups. I'm not going to name any names yet, Jamie, unless you want me to, but we looked at some groups and they're pretty expensive. And so for us, we want the data, but when you got a budget of 1.4, 1.5 million, you have to be selective on what you're spending your funds on. And so for us, it's figuring out, do we spend, exorbitant amount of money for data that we're only going to be using, I would say, 3 or 4 months out the year for our annual report, for some collateral, for some presentations, some reporting out to our community. That's a tough pill to swallow that we're going to, we have to be mindful of how we use those funds. So data is always important to us. It's just trying to figure out, where do we get it from? make sure it's accurate, but also make sure it works for the community that we serve.
Just to kind of follow that a little bit down, when you think about your budgets, is the bulk of it going towards operations for safe and clean? Are you using the bulk of it for marketing? How does it kind of all split up for you?
Yeah, good question. We just actually went through an exercise to understand some of this. One, about a third of it is definitely going to staffing, which most operations go to, and make sure that's right. Another third of it is all the cleaning and safety initiatives we have. We're managing the, as I mentioned earlier, University Research Park. That is a cost. We manage most of the major thoroughfares in University City, so we want to make sure those are maintained. We're actually exploring an ambassador program, but one of the bigger costs too, or big costs, is the marketing and promotion development, which is our signature events. So signature events is a major, about another third of the cost for us to make sure we're putting on these great events. We're bringing in about 100,000 people a year with 7 signature events: Kids Fest, Juneteenth Arts Fest, our 5K. Wine Fest is coming up. And so those events are once again, they lead towards our economic, or I should say our arts and culture pillar, and making sure we're engaging our community.
Hey, let's look ahead at the next one short year. Okay, so we're mid-August 2024. Let's imagine that we're like, the clock's moved to August 2025. What's on the table? What do we got to get done in the next 1 year?
Well, I will mention this. I think this is key, Jamie. I found it very valuable that we have a CRM system. We didn't have one prior to me getting here. We're 21 years old. I mentioned these numbers: 4,700 businesses, 100,000 people who work here, 185,000 people who live here, 30,000 students who live here. The number of city, state government officials that we have, and we didn't have a database, a dynamic, and I don't even want to use the term database, but a dynamic system that we can engage in. So we leaned in heavy on the CRM system and purchased it. And my goal is to grow that database within the CRM system. We want to know how many times we're connecting with our sponsors, how many times we're connecting with our board members. We want to make sure we're able to, if we want to say, if someone came to us and said, Keith, we want to know all your businesses, that we can say, here's a list of all our businesses. We have 145 restaurants, and we can have their names, their numbers. We don't have much of that right now. And I think that's so important for MSD to have a business improvement district. We need to make sure that we have our hands wrapped around the community that we serve, specifically around the data points: names, numbers, contact information, and then engagement policy. Like, we want to make sure we connect with our businesses at least twice a year. That's 4,700 businesses. I'm gonna do the quick math on that. That's at least 10,000 contacts if you just try to connect them twice a year. So that's a value add to us, and that's a big thing for us. I would love to see that database grow. We would love to get to a higher number than we're at now, and I would love to see us do more engagement with that database, so more people were engaging.
Have you selected the CRM already?
Yes, we did. It's okay if I can share it?
Oh yeah, I was really interested to hear what you guys are using.
So we went with HubSpot. There was a number of different groups. There was a couple of nonprofit database CRM systems that we looked at. My thought process at the end of the day was, I didn't want to go with quite frankly, Salesforce. I think it was more complicated than what we needed, but the nonprofit ones didn't have enough market testing. I think for me, they were somewhat new, getting off the ground, and HubSpot for us was right where it needed to be. We had a number of people very familiar with HubSpot that we could go to, and it was just a good product for us to use at the time. And we can grow with it, so we can add on as we see fit.
Cool. Hey, let's look out, 5 years, 10 years out. How do you see things, developing and unfolding in University City?
Well, a couple of things I think is important: leaning into those signature events. I want to make sure that we are growing our signature events. We had our largest ever Kids Fest this year. I would love to double that as far as the number of attendees. I think that's going to be important. Also think that's important for us as we look out the next 5 years is growth around staffing. And the reason I say that, I know every leader says that, but we have 10 square miles. And realistically, I don't think we can, with the team of really 4, that we really can have the impact that we want to have. And I think that's a conversation I'm having with the board. Like, how do we really grow? And it could be just grow in the sense that we reuse the funds differently and there's more contracts, but we need to be able to have some capacity when it comes to with the growth of University City. And plus with just the growth, I mean, 2,000 people a year, it's coming to, we need to figure out how do we respond to some of those needs. Traffic mitigation, all those economic development issues that you deal with. I don't know if we have the staff the next 5 years, enough staff to deal with some of those issues.
Hey, let's pretend for a moment we're going to play make believe and imagine you've been handed a magic wand and you know how to use it to cast a spell to promote the vitality of University City. Keith Stanley, how would you use your magic wand?
Well, I would say if I could, I would love to go back in time. This is gonna sound real crazy, Jamie, but hopefully people can go with me on this academic exercise for a moment. What we know, or what I know, and what our team here at University knows is that we are trying to really develop culture around University City. And a part of developing culture is being able to have some of those key either signature events or signature activations, murals, art installments that get engaged people. Now, the exciting part is that we have a blank slate. We have a blank canvas to do that. However, for those of us who are looking at placemaking and community and economic development, it's great to have that already. This is the, for example, the lake that's behind you. This is the place, and we do have some of this. This is the place where everyone goes because after we win a game or we lose a championship, we all come here to celebrate as a community. We need to build more of that in University City. We need those places that many of us are familiar with when we grew up in our respective neighborhoods. Like this is where everyone hung out. And I want to make sure I emphasize when we talk about, I'm gonna call it the third place. We need more third places. For those who aren't familiar with that, The Great Good Place, 1989 book, excellent book for people to explore. To read about as far as the third place and what that means. That we need places that build community, that doesn't have barriers for entrance. We need places where people don't have to spend 40, 50, 60 bucks to hang out. We need this, maybe a beer, maybe a soda, but you can enjoy community. And I had to say that is one of the pet peeves I have as we go into this new era of our society, that we're losing those third places. For me, it was the mall growing up. I know for my dad, it was the Boys and Girls Club. But we're not having those places where it's mixed people, of culture, of race, of background, of economics, social standing, but you came together, and this is where we as a community identified, and we got to build more of that in University City.
Hey, before we wrap, Keith, how can people keep their eyes on University City and you in particular?
Well, I would encourage everyone, if they can, check out our social media platforms. We're on all the social media platforms, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and even TikTok. But I will also say, more importantly, follow us on go to our website, universitycitypartners.org, universitycitypartners.org, and you can go to our website, and there'll be a pop-up screen for you to get to our newsletter. As I mentioned earlier, that's important for us. You'll learn a lot. We lean in on content. We got tons of videos and things of that nature. You'll love the people to connect with us there to learn about what's going on in University City.
Cool. Hey, thanks so much for talking to us and telling us about your district today.
Thank you, Jamie. I really appreciate this. It's been a pleasure. I love sharing the story, and hopefully someone can get something out of it. And especially if they are connected to University City anyway, we hope to visit them sometime and even take them out to lunch. I'm happy to do that.
Good. Well, I can't wait to come and visit. Maybe I'll take you up on that.
Yes, please do.
And to our listeners, thanks again for visiting us on Decoding Downtowns. I'd like to shout out to Vistity, our sponsor, for sponsoring the podcast. And hey, man, until we meet up again, keep exploring and innovating in your district.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today for Decoding Downtowns. If you've enjoyed our podcast, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's brought to you by Vistity, the leading geospatial visualization platform for data-driven decisions. Stay connected, stay informed, and let's continue to shape the future of our cities together. Until next time, I'm Jamie Schwartzman.